Hey, if you're having trouble changing your eating habits effectively, it very well may be how you are thinking. But great news, you can get awareness of what you're thinking, see how it's affecting you negatively, and make a shift to produce better results, which is what I'm helping you with in this episode. Last week, I did an episode on 7 powerful mindset shifts for weight loss, and today I'm doing 5 mindset shifts to make changing your eating habits easier. So our mindset has a lot to do with our results in life. That's because your thoughts collectively make up your mindset. A positive mindset does not mean that every single thought you have is positive. That's really important to know. Actually, as a human, because you have a human brain just like I do, just means naturally you will not have just positive thoughts. Our human brains can sometimes be very heavy on the negative thoughts, which is normal. That's for survival purposes. We're always meant to be looking around for danger, looking for the negative to try to protect ourselves. So now that we don't have as many dangers like we used to when we were cavemen and cavewomen, we're still chronically or constantly looking around for dangers. So we normally have lots of negative thoughts going on in our brains. It is really good practice, though, to have awareness of negative thoughts that may be leading to negative results. It's also good to understand how you can shift a negative thought into a more positive one and see how that would most likely result in something positive. We never want to go to something that is not believable to, though. You want to make sure that the shifted thought is something that's also still believable to you. So I'm going to give you 5 common thoughts about eating habits that are a little bit more on the negative side, some more than others, and don't typically make you feel very good, and then ultimately lead to negative results. I'm also going to give you a way that you can shift each of those thoughts to help make you feel better, and if you feel better, then you will typically do more of the behaviors that will get you the result that you want. Because all of our actions or our inactions are driven by our feelings, our emotions. Okay, so the first one is I have to eat healthy all the time. That one doesn't sound so bad, right? But I'll tell you why that one can be a bit of an issue. So a lot of people are thinking this thought when they're trying to lose weight or trying to change their eating habits. The words I have to can very much make it feel like a chore. Also, eating healthy all the time can give you a feeling of needing to be perfect. And perfection is so difficult or impossible, really, to attain, which means that if we don't attain it, we are left feeling disappointed or maybe even something like shame or frustration or like a failure, right? So none of those are good feelings. So I suggest right now that you just try this thought on for yourself and see how it feels. Kind of try it on like it's a coat or a purse. So think to yourself, I have to eat healthy all the time. How does that thought make you feel in your body? Can you name the emotion, or it might be easier to just describe how it feels? Or if you're having a difficult time doing that even, does it feel good or does it feel not so good? And if you're not feeling good because of this thought, or you're feeling like it's a chore or that you have to be perfect, do you think that it's likely that you're going to end up being successful with changing your eating habits permanently if you're thinking this thought that's not making you feel that great? Especially if you're looking at it as a perfectionist and feeling like you're failing if you don't eat perfectly healthy all the time, because that can then just lead to giving up. That's that all or nothing mentality that you've probably heard of. So the mindset shift for this would be, I get to decide what I fuel my body with. Or some variation, right? There's of course lots of different mindset shifts that you can have, but this is the one I want to offer to you for this. So this one gives you all the power back because it's your decision rather than you feeling like you have to do something that you maybe don't really want to do. So it's so much more empowering. Also, it takes that whole perfectionism vibe out of it, right? I also like this one because it's very deliberate. You're the one deciding what you eat. Food doesn't have the control, you have the control. The next one is, I have terrible eating habits. I know some of you have said this aloud or to yourself as if it's just you reporting the news, as if it's 100% truth, but it's just a thought. It's your opinion about your eating habits. It may not even be an accurate opinion currently. You might have just told yourself this 1 or 2 times, and then your brain just keeps repeating it. But how does that thought make you feel? Probably an emotion that doesn't feel good, possibly even making you feel terrible. And if you feel that way, does that give you the energy to do the things you need to do to get better eating habits? Probably not. Maybe at first, but that never lasts. And if it does so at first, sometimes that's just due to some other thought and feeling that may be sort of like overpowering that thought and feeling at the moment, that sort of like gets you going to your next step. But ultimately, you might get that little quick burst of energy, but that's not going to last. Having that underlying thought of I have terrible eating habits or some variation of that will always end up causing self-sabotage. There will always be part of you that identifies as someone who has terrible eating habits if you keep believing that thought. And it'll be so much harder to change when you're thinking that way. So a shift for this one is, I have eating habits I'd like to change. This creates more of a feeling of desire, right? If you'd like to do something, or maybe even motivation, right? So desire to change those eating habits for whatever your deeper reasons are. Motivation to change your eating habits also for whatever deeper motivations that you have. So this thought will also more likely spring you into action. It just feels different in your body when you're experiencing an emotion of desire or motivation, rather than the negative ones that I mentioned before, right? So if you're thinking I have terrible eating habits and that's making you feel ashamed or just feeling terrible, that can keep you stuck and not doing anything about it. The next one is, eating makes me happy. Okay, so I know some of you right now are like, but it does. No, eating does not make you happy. Eating increases dopamine or releases dopamine, which provides a very, very short-term feeling of pleasure. That's different than happiness. This is not to be confused with true happiness. Happiness, the feeling of happy, is created by your thoughts. Okay, your thoughts about your life, your thoughts about things, your thoughts about other people, but happiness is created with your thoughts. When you're telling yourself the thought, eating makes me happy, you are just keeping yourself in the cycle of eating to try to feel happy. It never actually makes you feel truly happy though, so you're constantly just chasing this feeling of happiness, which then just keeps you eating, eating, eating. Also, because you're getting that bit of pleasure each time, that also keeps you doing more of the same thing. So instead of actually leading you to happiness, to true happiness, instead you're strengthening that eating habit of eating, not because you're hungry, but because you're either trying to fill some sort of a void or you're trying to avoid an uncomfortable emotion. So that they usually go together, right? So this thought for sure, eating makes me happy, will keep you stuck in an unhealthy cycle. A shift that you can have for this one is just making yourself aware that eating is only providing that temporary dopamine hit. So something like eating provides short-term pleasure, but not true happiness. And I'd also like you to consider that eating to try to make yourself feel happy is actually harming your emotional and physical health, which will result in more unhappiness, right? Because you're then going to have thoughts about your physical health, you're also, if you're just harming your emotional health in general, that's not going to make you feel happy, right? So the next one is, I can't stop eating. That may just be eating in general, or it may be eating a specific food or type of food. This thought relinquishes all control. this will make you feel very disempowered or out of control. And if you're thinking this thought, I can't stop eating, what do you think is going to end up happening? You'll keep eating. And that's not because you can't actually stop, it's because you're telling yourself you can't stop. It'll create a feeling such as disempowerment or feeling out of control. When you feel those feelings, those emotions, what ends up happening is you keep reaching for the food and putting it in your mouth, right? So that feeling of feeling out of control because you're thinking that thought will result in you continuing to do the behaviors of continuing to eat and not stopping, basically. So instead, try this thought on for size. I may want to keep eating, but I can stop anytime because I have control over my arms and my mouth, right? Seriously though, you have control over your body. Therefore, you can stop eating anytime. It might feel like you can't, but you can, I promise you. The thoughts and the feelings may be making it more difficult for you or making it feel more difficult for you, or maybe the specific type of food like candy, because that can really skyrocket that dopamine release, but you can absolutely still do it. Do you know why? Because people do it. Right? My clients do it. Lots of other coaches' clients do it. Lots of people who don't work with a coach do it. And also another reason is because you can do hard things. It's really only hard just because you're thinking that it's hard, because you're not in the practice of doing it a different way yet. And if you feel like you can't do it alone, that's exactly what I help people with. I am here for you. And in fact, if you want, you can book a free consultation with the link down in the episode description. I can learn more about what exactly you're struggling with and tell you exactly what the solutions would be for you for your specific challenges. You'll feel so much empowered just during that hour-long consultation. So it's well worth that feeling of empowerment, right? All right, so the last mindset shift I want to offer you is for the thought, I shouldn't have eaten that much. This one doesn't sound that bad, but the main reason why I wanted to present this one to you is because it can be sneaky, right? But also because of the words, I shouldn't have. So really the thought could be anything. I shouldn't have eaten the cookies. I shouldn't have had the third glass of wine. I shouldn't have spent $500 on new clothes when I have clothes with tags still on them in the closet, right? So as humans, we love to say, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done this. And maybe you truly feel that you shouldn't have fill in the blank, but thinking this thought or thinking even just those words will make you feel a certain way, a lot of times like insufficient or shame, and that will then determine your next actions or inactions, your next behaviors. So often a thought like, I shouldn't have eaten that much produces a feeling like guilt or shame or disappointment. Those feelings certainly don't feel good, right? And they often keep you stuck. Sometimes you may recall that you didn't feel good after eating something and you want to avoid that feeling for next time. So you change your action for next time, and that can work temporarily, but oftentimes it's not enough motivation to have you continue doing the right actions because you're also still having like those underlying thoughts, right? So instead, shifting this to I ate more than I intended, what did I learn for next time is so much more productive. So you're acknowledging what you did, but then you're getting curious and asking yourself what can be improved for next time. So maybe you discover that you overate due to the fact that you were not paying attention to how much you were eating because you were watching TV at the same time. What you learned from that is maybe that next time you eat, you should not be watching TV or doing anything else that might be distracting while you eat, right? So you can learn and then you can see how you can change the experience for next time. So you're problem solving instead of just shaming yourself. Way more likely to then produce the results you really want to produce if you're able to then problem solve and do it differently next time. All right, so that's what I have for you on 5 mindset shifts to make changing your eating habits easier. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up down below to let me know you liked the video. That also helps to make this more visible to other people that would benefit from this as well. Hit the subscribe button. I put out a new video every single week. So if you hit the subscribe button and then the notifications, you'll be notified when a new one comes out. Take care. Have a wonderful week. Become the person who loves her eating habits and her body so you can enjoy more of your life. I'll help. Start now by just setting up a time to talk with me by visiting katemjohnston.com/consult.